of this video is to walk you through how to fill out the 450-6T form. I say this a lot, and you really want to make sure that when you're applying for any sort of loss mitigation attempt with your bank, whether it's a short sale, a loan modification, a deed in lieu, or some other type of repayment plan, that you fill your documents out the first time, especially if you have one of these bigger lenders like PHH or Mr. Cooper or Bank of America or one of these big banks. It'll really slow down the process if they have to continually reject your documents and ask that you make changes. And so it's important that you go through everything line by line. I'm going to give you all the information that you need to do a good job of filling out your forms correctly. And the purpose of this, of course, is just to speed up the time frame and kind of get you through the document review process. So the 450-6T form, it's one page. There is a second page that often comes with it. It's just an instruction page. When you submit to the banks, you only need to submit the first page. It's important that you make sure you use the right version. So up at the top underneath 450-6T, it will tell you the version of the form because the IRS updates it regularly. The most recent version right now is the June 2019 version. If for whatever reason we're way ahead of 2020, I should have an update below this video saying that there's an updated version. But as of right now, which is September 16th of 2020, the most updated 450-6T form is the June 2019 form. There's a link below this video to my website. There's a blank form there in case you need that. What the 450-6T form does is it allows your lender to communicate with the IRS to verify your tax returns. So it's a required part of most, if not all, loss mitigation packages, and you do need to submit the form with your package and give the bank permission to ask the IRS if the information you included on the 450-6T form is accurate. Basically, they're going to say to the IRS, did they file tax returns? If you didn't, it's okay. You can still get through most loss mitigation attempts, but it just gives the bank the permission that they need to speak directly about it to the IRS. So we've got our 450-6T form. You've got the right version. At the top, you are to fill in your name. That seems simple, but you want to make sure that the name that you're using is the name that matches what the IRS calls you at. Most of the time for other documents, I'm telling you to write your name as it shows on the mortgage, but for the 450-6T form, you want to make sure the name that you use is the same version of the name the IRS has. So however you file your taxes under, that's the name that goes on the 450-6T form. Hopefully your name is the same across the board, but I know sometimes things get, people have nicknames or they have formal names, and so you're trying to match your name to the IRS. Underneath the first line is the name you write a spouse that you filed a tax return with, or somebody you filed a joint tax return with, typically a spouse. Even if the spouse is not on the mortgage that you're asking for help with, you still want to include that person's name. This isn't going to automatically attach them to the loan modification you're asking for. It's not going to include them in the short sale, but what you're doing is you're helping the IRS be able to match you with your tax return so they can quickly get the bank the information that's needed. So if you are the only person on the mortgage, but you filed a joint tax return, that person's name goes on the second line. Over here, you write your social security numbers, write them in the standard format, 3 digits, dash, 2 digits, dash, 4 digits. Don't cram the numbers together, don't leave out the dashes, don't do anything weird, make it look as good as possible. Line 3, you're supposed to write your current name and address with your zip code. That's where you live, that is your current name and address. If that's not the property that you're requesting assistance on, still write where you live. That's the address that you live. That should be the address that the IRS knows to be kind of your primary residence and where you receive your mail. You don't need to fill in line 4 unless you've changed addresses from the last year that you filed. So if you filed somewhere and you were living somewhere else, you moved, you will have different addresses on line 3 and 4, but for most people, you can just skip line 4. Line 5A is where you write the name of your mortgage company. So you want to make sure you write the name there. Don't use abbreviations. So if you have one of the banks that's SPS for Select Portfolio Servicing or SLS, Specialized Loan Servicing, write the full name of the bank out. And then if you're looking for what address to use on line 5A, use the address that's listed on your mortgage statement. So grab a recent mortgage statement. It'll have the name of the bank and an address. Put that address there and make sure it all fits on line 5A. Line 5B says customer file number if applicable. Some banks, very few times, they want your loan number, your mortgage loan number written there, but I recommend leaving that line blank because most banks do not want anything written on that line, and so you run more of a risk of causing a problem if you fill something in. So most of the time, leave line 5B blank. Once you get to number 6, most of you will be writing 1040 on the line here. And then most of you will be checking 6A for a return transcript. You're basically telling your mortgage lender you can ask the IRS to provide you confirmation of my tax returns. And so they have a direct kind of line of communication. And again, if you didn't file taxes, you don't have to be super concerned that this form is going to get you in trouble with the IRS. It's really just an authorization form for your mortgage lender to ask the IRS to tell them what happened with your taxes. Once you get to line 9 down at the bottom, you want to fill in the 2 most recent years in a December format. So you would write 12/31. So it's 2020 right now. If you were filling this in 2020, you would write 12/31/2018 and then 12/31/2019. That's giving permission for the IRS to take the last 2 years of tax returns. If you're in a situation where you don't have the most recent 2 years of tax returns filed, but you have maybe tax returns filed going back 3 years, then you can put 3 years worth. You'd put 12/31/2017, 12/31/2018, and 12/31/2019, giving the bank permission to go back to the year when you did have tax returns filed. We're down to the box that most people forget. Right above your signature, there's a box right here at the very bottom of the page. It says signatory attests that you've read the form. Most people don't see this box, but you do need to put a check mark in this box or else the form will get rejected. And then you sign, and if you have a spouse on this form, the spouse signs also. Your signature needs to be a wet signature in black ink. You need to fill in the date with the year, and then you put a good phone number for you in this line over here. Those are your tips and tricks to get your 45060 form through. If you are a Washington State homeowner and you need help, give me a call.